Congrats on the new Ventifax EP.
Oh, thanks.
It's amazing. It's really groovy. It's even though I didn't really know the original songs, it's so fun actually listening to the original and like just seeing how far they've been distorted into like this other beast.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, not a lot of people probably. I don't know how much crossover there is between early REM fans and people that would know our stuff. So it does seem like some people are coming to it. That is like the people that listen to the early REM wouldn't. I don't know, wouldn't necessarily be open to microtonal music, but maybe I'm wrong about that. There was this like zero crossover. I think Ben and I were kind of just doing it for ourselves, thinking we were the only people in the world that would kind of care about both of these things. It felt kind of natural. Well, there's something kind of austere about early REM that I also feel the microtonal sounds bring out. They kind of accentuate something that was already there, or kind of gothic. Not to change the subject, but I'm curious how your Peabody experience is going.
I recently got to do a project where they keep the library open like all night. They put people into teams and they give them a theme for their composition and then they have to like stay up all night like finishing the composition to perform it the next day.
To perform.
Uh yeah, they put people into teams on Friday night and then they have a performance on Saturday night.
Oh, and they are the players and the composers.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of the composers here also perform a bit. Like my group was all composers, but we all ended up performing also.
Yeah, so that's a pretty cool thing. It's an immersion
Yeah.
project. I don't know if you're have you been privy to those things? The immersion is kind of a movement to do immersive creative project, but it's mostly in music
Okay.
that people do it, where you kind of you set an absurd, unattainable goal, like I'm gonna write 10 pieces
Yeah.
in 12 hours, and you start things and you don't ever revise, you don't ever second guess yourself. And then with every and usually you start and like the first things are kind of, the ego gets in the way of the first, two or three
Yeah.
things. And then it kind of goes out the window as you're kind of, forced to ride this horse. Like I got to come up with something now. Then you start trying things that you wouldn't naturally go to. Like once you're at your third or fourth idea and you can't come with any preconceived ideas. You just have to. I only did it once. I did a 1 day
Oh,
thing,
cool. Cool.
immersion thing, but I came up with like three or four things that I later ended up using and revising later. The idea is also that you're supposed to finish them, like kind of like your project. It sounds a lot like that. Not, but it, which, finished I didn't really finish them, but I came up with ideas. It's a pretty cool method of clearing out all the preconceptions and all the, all the dreck.
Yeah, like creative unblocking.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What were the things that you came up with that you ended up using later?
Errol was drawn into his garage room, running in place for a week straight, dropping notes through the heating grate. Bucket full, soap please, vegetables, and he sold me dreaming Israel to a house of Gentiles. The scorched red rocks, the guts in knots. I see Cain outside in the dusk, making love on the rope swing. And Errol's upstairs.
And the song Errol at 23 came out of
Okay.
that. So you can almost hear it in that song if you listen to it. It's well, I actually in fairness, I did two separate weeks of immersion because the first one I didn't want to try to deal with writing words and music in the same day. That was that. So the first week was to write the words, and I did actually have an idea that I wanted to get to for a long time for the words to that. But so in the second week I did the music. So you can hear it's kind of compartmental. It's one thing after another. like I gotta what happened next? So it's a little bit more like a theatrical piece than a lot of the less one idea and less deliberate consideration. Like they train you in composition programs to you know, develop a theme and vary the theme and whatnot. Just for I got to come up with something. I'm gonna do this texture here, and so it's kind of goofy as a result. And then other things that I haven't finished, but that I'm still working on actually. that I only did 4 things in my 12-hour, which is pretty poor. But people tried to set a goal of 20. That was enough for
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
So you look at scores that you're working on and talk about orchestration and whatnot.
He's a bit meticulous about like form and just like how are you spending your time, using your time well, the economy of time in a piece, and like is it moving forward
In the
in the
piece
piece, yeah,
or in
is
just
time
life?
moving forward in a way that's
Yeah.
like, the
Yeah.
pacing is correct and like the audience doesn't feel bored to tears. Um,
Right.
he's kind of meticulous about that, just kind of like pacing and development.
Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah, that's interesting. 'Cause that's on one level it's subjective, but on another it's like very useful because a lot of young composers kind of don't know that. It's hard to find like to feel
Yeah,
your way into
it's a lot
it.
of practice. Just
Depends on the standards of
constant
the audience that you're assuming is listening to. I mean, I noticed a big shift when I went from sort of writing art music to more of a songwriting world, that my own standards had to shift, and they took a little while to shift because I was writing much more paced, slowly. The art music audience will tolerate more more slowness to unfold, and I still kind of
yeah,
I went to a drone show last week with an old Mills College friend, and it was like sort of coming home in a way. It was like back to there's a beautiful organ in town. This town used to be a manufacturer of organ. There's a big factory here that made the SD organs. And there's this great organ, and he did a show on pedal steel and electronics, and then there was an organ performance, and it was like, certain chords might go on for 15 minutes. But you get into an immersive, well, it seemed like 15 minutes. You get into an immersive experience and kind of allow your mind to wander and come back. And I feel like that's the other extreme, and I'm a big fan of like Feldman and um, places where you can really kind of
yes, yeah,
figuratively and maybe even literally get up and wander around and come back and like let the music wash over you
yeah,
and not be, and it escapes form when you get to that point. It escapes knowledge of form to some extent, and you're just in a
yeah,
field. Because what can you teach?
yeah,
Like ultimately, it's like it's aesthetics. It's like it's personal. It's subjective. But you can kind of make generalizations about. Well, most people are going to take this way in this audience that are probably going to be present. This is
yeah,
this might start to get boring, or this is too much information too quickly.
yeah,
And that was the
yeah.
problem I used to have when I was starting. Like I was like, oh, here's another idea, and here's another idea.
But we're finishing. Um, I wrote one other tune for that project that's close to being done, and that's more of like an acoustic number. Um, and the idea was it's like a quartet for piano, acoustic guitar,
Hmm.
marimba, and melodica.
Yeah. Okay. Would be a nice combination. Melodica. Hope you find a good enough melodica that's not out of tune.
Yeah, I have. I think it was
Oh,
originally my grandfather's. It's like
okay.
a Honer 24.
That's something you're working on for them.
Yes.
And they're going to add their instruments. They're like a rhythm section, right?
Yeah. So they've
Guitar, bass, drums.
I told them no drums. Uh
Yeah,
uh and but they're putting some and electric guitar and bass on it, which I was like kind of like, no, wait, that wasn't the original composition. And then I heard it, and I'm like, yeah, that works. That sounds good. Um,
yeah,
so yeah, they're giving it the old sort of math rock touch, or math rock production
yeah.
quality, but just without the drums.
And grin like it's some sort of play we're in. Well, I was wrong, but I thought at the time that you were after that calf skin. Remember, sister, when the baby
It's not even necessarily consistent. Like the music that I make is not this. I don't know if I would listen to my own music. I probably would, but um,
Sure.
I spend a lot of time listening to things that are much more spacious and kind of what I'm needing in that. I don't listen to dance. Uh, I don't listen to progressive rock. I don't listen to really
Really.
um, anymore, really. Once in a while, but all the stuff that out of which tradition I'm
Okay.
coming from, it doesn't really grab me anymore. And other things that are influenced by rock and opposition and that kind of stuff. It's very different when I was your age, though. It's as like an age. It's not. I don't know if it has to do with age or time in life, or like I kind of went over that, and there's a certain like homogeneity that I just didn't need to hear anymore. Um, but I think it's more to do with kind of what my mind and spirit are needing at any given moment, and oftentimes it's more reflectiveness and calm and um, a lot of stuff that I like and respect, and it's like, yeah, that's interesting, and I know what went into making that, and then I did, but I don't really want to listen to it again. I don't necessarily want to be taken there. So that does kind of relate to what we were talking about before about does this annoy the listener?
Yeah,
Uh,
for sure.
I guess I am sort of annoyed by music sometimes when it pushes too many buttons. There's a place for it though. There's a place for.
Yeah.
I'm glad it exists. Particularly very aggressive music. Very. I just don't need to hear it that often. Like subtlety, that's subtlety. We appreciate subtlety in music. Um, that's what it's all about. Little shifts that make you that give you goosebumps. That you just pick up on, just
Yeah.
barely pick up on
Yeah.
what's going on. Oh, and it makes you resource parts of your unconscious to follow what's happening. You don't even know you're following it. You don't even know what's happening.
Hmm.
Filibuster stuff is really really fun to listen to, and if you get any more of those down, keep me posted.
Yeah, definitely.
Like to hear it. Yeah, so let's talk again
All
sometime.
right.
All right.
Take care, Damon.
Take care.
Great to see you.
Yeah. Yeah, good to see you, Zach. Bye.